Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
We're back.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Scarves and Spikes on a Tuesday, pre-Thanksgiving. There's no reason why we're doing it on a Tuesday. Or there is. There's lots of reasons. There's at least 9 of them, plus one very important one. We're going to dive into it. Atlanta United announced their roster decisions earlier. And, of course, the big news about Rob Valentino leaving. But we got lots to talk about. We got lots to discuss. It's the appetizer to Thanksgiving. So, Tommy, Henry, how y'all doing today?
You sent me a message at like 3 o'clock saying, maybe some things might be happening, and I didn't think it'd be all the things, right?
All of them.
And some came out when we were podcasting yesterday too, right? Didn't someone say goodbye yesterday? Was it?
I think it was Jamal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what it was. We're like, oh man, we missed this.
Yeah.
and then earlier today, we're like, oh, another thing. And every time you just refresh Twitter or Blue Sky, or Mastodon or whatever new app that has gone
in MySpace all day. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You just find out that there's more happening. There's more happening. And obviously the Rob Valentino thing is the biggest. And we talked a lot about it yesterday, right? Like reading Garth's comments earlier in the week. And I guess we talked about it a little bit last week too, is that it didn't feel like this was going to happen, right? He was going to have to take them to the promised land. And I guess so they got eliminated on Saturday, right? Or Sunday, right? And
Sunday.
It's Tuesday.
Yep.
So I assume they had a conversation yesterday, but I guess that's the final interview, right? The final interview was either today or yesterday.
It was this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, according to Garth. So yeah, we're going to dive into all of it. We'll dive into all the moves, everything from the press conference with Garth today, which was very enlightening. Henry and I were on. Sydney was on. Sydney is also on Thanksgiving holiday in Texas, so he will probably not be joining us. But lots to talk about. Henry, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, Tyler. An eventful day, as y'all just talked about. I'm excited to talk through things. I know Sunday, in the 3 takeaways, we said it was going to be a busy off season, right? And right now we're getting started. We're getting started really early, which I think is actually a good thing. And I think Atlanta United fans are happy that things are starting to get put into motion. Like right now, mostly it's kind of just clearing house, but that's kind of what you got to do before you bring in all the new stuff, right? So we'll see. This is just the beginning, man.
Yeah. Yeah, then that's the thing. We're literally 48 hours from the end of the match at this point, which is wild to think about. Get to expect some of this was already in the works, and obviously it can't be talked about until the moment it happens. But Garth said today in the press conference that he sat down with Rob this morning and had the conversation with him. And you saw the post that came out on Rob's rarely used Twitter about 1 o'clock, I think it was 2 o'clock, something like that. I wish him the best of luck, obviously, and we'll get into it. Scarvesandspikes.com. I'm going to drop the link so everybody, if you wanted to show and tell, follow along, whatever. We have the article up that's got all the actual moves, everything that's going to happen today, along with the notes from the press conference. Everything that we have to know at this point, it's there, and it'll be here on this show. So we're going to talk about every little bit of it. So scarvesandspikes.com. Patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. We're going to be doing some recordings here in the next week, some player ratings and other stuff. Got lots of stuff for the offseason plan for the Patreon, and you can get into the Discord, come hang out with us, have fun, and go get you some stuff. Go get you some merch. There you go. Look, everybody's showing off. Get your coffee mug because it's getting cold outside. But all right,
so Ohio right now.
I know you look like somebody said in the chat. You look like you're in that Arctic.
a little cold in the basement today.
Yeah, a little chilly. So I guess just off the cuff, Tommy, starting with you. You got this message about Valentino leaving. What was your first kind of initial thought?
They moved quick, right? They moved real quick on this and kind of got it out of the way, right? Like, I think holding on to a little bit of hope. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that have been pushing for Rob, and I'm talking about the fan base. Okay, there's a large group that have been behind him since day one, right? Said we want him, and then there were some people that backed off a little as the team started not playing very well, and then late October to November, the stock just kept going up, just every week, right? Even in that loss to Miami, stock was still going up, right? They were very competitive against that. We didn't know if they'd end up winning game 2. They end up winning game 2 in fantastic fashion. They win game 3, and the stock has been through the roof. So the question is how much of a chance does he have? And then the stock immediately went down with the Garth Lagerwey interview that I talked about, right? It cooled it down a lot. It was like, okay, well, the only way this stock's going to go back up is if he wins at all. And we find out what happens on Sunday. And it's Tuesday early, and we find out that he's on his way out. And I don't think that that's a huge surprise here. The quote was, I think, Atlanta United doesn't like taking chances. And this is the new Atlanta United, because I saw people groaning about that. We talked about it yesterday. This new Atlanta United is looking for players that are experienced, right? Like, that's been the talk about it since the day he's come in, right? And we can talk a little bit about how he talked about the U22s today as well, right? Because that comes back into this conversation of not taking chances. And this just didn't make sense, right? I mean, a lot of people were upset about Gonzalo Pineda when he came out. We wanted someone with a little bit more experience, but they went ahead with him, and it didn't work out. And yeah, Rob has been working out for a very short period of time, but the club of this stature, right, is looking to be consistent long term. And I think where Garth and Arthur Blank and the rest of the group is that they want someone more experienced with winning as well. And that's what they're looking for, right? And obviously all the other things that they've talked about before, experience with the salary cap, MLS experience, like, you just keep adding all these things in here. And unfortunately, there's a lot of it that is Rob, right? And Dukes and Bell really tried to push Garth hard, like, just hire the dude, right? Just hire him. He beat Miami. And, Garth did a very good job, at least in that interview, saying that it's not that he doesn't have a lot of these traits. It's just that he doesn't have enough experience with these traits. And here we are. And, I've already seen New York FC, Vancouver, we talked a little bit about yesterday on the show. Like, these are places like Rob's going to get a head coach job somewhere, whether it's MLS, to USL, wherever. He's going to continue to build that resume. But damn it, Rob, you the top of the resume, just post a sad picture of Messi and Guzan yelling at Suarez, right? That's your cover sheet of your resume.
Yep.
That's what you need to put on there, because it's a hell of a story. And like I've been saying, take all those Atlanta United videos that they've made, right? After every win, and these the long ones, I forget what they're called. The 40-minute video that they just posted the other day.
Rooted in the Stripes.
Yeah, Rooted in Stripes. Yep. Put all of that put it on a VHS tape, and you hand it to anybody that you want. VHSs, Henry, were back in the 80s, and just I don't know if you've ever seen them before.
Yeah,
And I'm not kidding, because my kids have never seen a VHS before.
right.
Yeah, but you take those and you just hand them out to everybody and say, "This is what I did. Hire me." And there's going to be someone that's going to hire him, and the headline is, "This man beat Messi," and good for him. Good for him at 100%.
I mean, look, Rob's a class act. He's a amazing guy. Really, really enjoyed getting to talk to him at the training ground, at the games. You know, obviously the season, both times that he was interim head coach, he was thrown into a crappy situation, but he still managed to make the best of it. And very clearly the players respect him and wanted to play for him. And so you see his skill at managing people and getting them to not just play for you, but be motivated to play for you. And I think that's something so valuable as a coach that not a lot of people have. And so I think he's going to land on his feet without a doubt, whether it is in MLS or, you know, wherever he goes. It would be pretty funny, though, if Atlanta and Philly switch coaches. You know what I'm saying?
It would be funny.
It would be hilarious. But that's the end of me putting that out there. I really just wish Rob the best wherever he ends up. He's a great guy, and he definitely should go in the good history of Atlanta United.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt about it. I asked Rob at the end of the press conference the other day, and I mentioned this on the show, I think yesterday, on Spaces and everything. I said, you know, you've been a part of a lot of historical moments in this club. Recency bias would give you a lot, right? The Inter Miami stuff, the decision day, just going up to Montreal and winning against Joseph Martinez is kind of poetic in its own sense. But I mean, the dude's been here in 2018. He's been here in 2019. He's been a part of, in some way, shape, or form, a lot of really big moments, you know. And of course, this was his moment to shine. And like you said, Tommy, he can now go forward and say, I did this in a time where the players and the club just seemed like they were almost ready for it to be over, almost ready for the season to be done. And, you know, Brad Guzan said, not one single time did the coaching staff ever throw in the towel. Not one time did they ever even give an indication or inclination that they were ready to give up. And he said, had they done that, he said, I don't think the players would have been able to pull themselves out of it. So you have to give a lot of credit to Rob Valentino and the staff for getting this team motivated to do what they did. It was always going to be a tough thing and a long shot to go forward and win MLS Cup, but there was belief in that locker room, and there was belief in that locker room that wasn't there near the end of the season. You wish he had been able to pull it out of them before the playoffs started and before decision day. It didn't happen, but it's still a really cool moment in club history. And then Henry, like you said, the dude's just a cool guy. He's a nice guy. He's super respectful. He cares about, you know, his players, cares about the people around him. He's just a nice guy. And, but he's firm when he needs to be. And, you know, he left out of that press conference that day and said thank you to every one of the journalists, reporters, everybody in there. And, I mean, at this point, there's really nothing left to be said except for, you know, we wish you the best of luck, Rob, and wherever you end up. I know there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to keep an eye on you. And, yeah, we wish you the best of luck. Of course, if it involves playing Atlanta, I wish you slightly less the best of luck, but the best of luck regardless. So, you'll keep the comments coming in too, because I know everybody's got things to say. We want to get to some of these comments. We're trying to at least put them all up on the screen for those of y'all listening after the fact. We will try to read through as many as we can as well. But we got a lot to cover. We have a lot of stuff to cover. So I guess with the players, I'll just go through really quick and list off kind of like what was noted and who kind of is staying, who's leaving, whoever's in limbo, and then we can kind of dive into it from there. So, and I'll also post the article in the chat. But Brad Guzan, Efrain Morales, and Jay Fortune, and Santiago Sosa had their contract options exercised. There have been questions about Santiago Sosa. I can give you a relatively common sense explanation momentarily. Then you had 6 players that were declined: Eric Centeno, Nick Firmino, Ronald Hernandez, Franco Ibarra, Jamal Tiare, Tyler Wolff. But the club is still negotiating with Ronald Hernandez, Jamal Tiare, and Tyler Wolff. Of course, Jamal Tiare has kind of essentially given a goodbye post, but not really, on Twitter. So take that for what it's worth. All of those players are eligible to for the MLS re-entry draft, except Wolff, who will go on waivers. And then the loan for Daniel Rios expires at the end of the year. And of course, Dax McCarty is retiring, as is Quentin Westberg, which was also announced earlier today. So there's all the players. Start at the top, I guess, with Brad. What's the thoughts on Brad?
Had to happen. No brainer. I mean, I think it was the opening question of today's presser with Garth, or one of the first questions, but he was asked about, Brad's extension. And he said, yeah, I mean, I think the quote was, Brad beat Miami, which just shows you how important he was in that series. And you didn't need Garth to tell you that, because you knew if you watched the games by the amount of saves that he put up, but just everything he was doing that we didn't know he could do before the season started. And so, yeah, for me, it's obvious that they do it, especially because of the type of leader that he is. And so to have him one more year, if he keeps this rhythm up, like, sure, man, like, not even showing 40, man. Let's just keep it going. But yeah,
man,
I mean, I'm gonna be happy to see him. I'm gonna be happy to see him back, because it's gonna be in a season or an off season with so much turnover. Having like someone who is still there, who is a constant, I guess, is gonna be pretty important for keeping the structure of the locker room.
I was wondering if maybe they declined it and renegotiated with him, right? Because if you don't have to, right? Because like, I thought maybe they'd be playing chess a little bit, because if you didn't pick it up, I mean, technically, then you wouldn't have to protect him, right? Am I right on that?
I mean, I believe so.
So,
I think it's one of those loopholes that we've kind of talked about, and I've never seen anything to the contrary saying that you couldn't do that.
Just a thought. And then maybe like you renegotiate the contract too. I mean, like I was looking it up, like 612,000 was guaranteed compensation for him. So I don't know whether, I mean, I don't think they'd give him a pay bump, but maybe negotiate down to help out a little bit. I mean, this team isn't lacking in cap space for the first time in a long time, right? So I don't know if that's a huge concern for one more year to keep him at that amount, but just a thought, I mean, I don't think there's a ton of players here. Like, you're going to run that situation where like, oh my gosh, who are we not going to protect right here? But it was just a thought out there. Like, just sign him after the expansion draft, but whatever, not a big deal. But no, I mean, good. I mean, it's obviously he wants to play 1 year. As soon as you saw what you posted on Sunday, you go out there. There's a comment. Tommy sounds like Boca. Hey, I just want to play chess on occasion. Checkers is too easy. You have to bring him back, right? If he wants to, let the guy retire. You have someone in the background, right, that can come in at any time, right? Maybe the future. But the guys, we gave him his credit yesterday. Like, as much as Rob did for this team, at least my feeling in watching all these videos is that Brad did just the same, right? Like, he's a leader there. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on the field. All of this combined, I think that it makes sense to keep him here and to help with that transition, right? Because that can be difficult in time. Because remember Frank DeBoer, when he came around, the transition from Tata to DeBoer was a culture shock, right? And a lot of players weren't okay with it. But it seemed like Brad, who has gotten along with most of the coaches that have come along here can help with that transition to whoever come in. Because if you don't have him, who is there? Like, who is it? Like, is it Brooks Lennon that helps out with that? Obviously, he's recovering from there. I think if there's a guy to help from bringing this new manager and helping him show too what Atlanta United's all about, it's Mr. Atlanta United, and that's Brad Guzan.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it was one of those years where he just kind of re-solidified himself. I mean, we've always known Brad's a good goalkeeper and like a very solid goalkeeper. It's the experience both on and off the field that is so crucial to this team. But and we had this conversation in 2022 and 2023, and it was like, man, is this it for Brad? Then he comes out this year, and it wasn't just the playoffs. Again, recency bias. I mean, you can look at the playoffs, and like Garth said today, like he beat Miami. It's a valid point because had it not been for Brad, they would not have made it out of that series. But it was the season as well. His season, the way that he played. Go back and look at 3 or 4 moments throughout the season where the game was saved literally because of Brad Guzan. And that was the difference between that 10% chance on decision day and no chance on decision day. So he's the guy. And, Josh Cohen is there and he'll get time in certain moments next year. And Jaden Hibbert is also working his way up. I mean, the goalkeeper core in this team is in good shape, actually. And I just don't think you can argue against bringing Brad back. I think out of all the decisions that were made today, that's one of the most obvious, in my opinion.
Fair.
So, Efrain Morales, I think that was kind of a belief that was going to happen. I mean, he didn't get a ton of minutes, but the minutes he did get this year, especially earlier in the season, he showed out pretty well. Him and Noah Cobb both, and we'll talk about Noah Cobb because Garth made some comments about him as well that have had some people, turning their heads a little confused.
And quick note, Morales also is kind of breaking into that senior Bolivia national team. And so that tells you just how much he's starting to improve. And so I think how old is Morales? Let me check on that real quick.
He might be 20 now, maybe.
He is 20, yes. So he's still got some development. He's still got some growth before he reaches his prime. And so, yeah, I mean, he's going to be he's going to be good to have around, and hopefully he gets more minutes, next season and the coming seasons. If you're in Open Cup, I don't even know how that's going to work. You'd probably play him, but yeah I mean, I think for him also it was pretty straightforward.
Yep, agreed. Jay Fortune, another one. Everybody in the club has talked very highly of Jay. We talked to Jay on our own show very recently. So if y'all haven't seen that, go check out that interview. It was really good. He was crucial. Again, he was another one that was crucial, especially in the playoffs, but he earned that starting spot in the last part of the season. Dax McCarty, in his last press conference the other night, he had the highest praise for Jay Fortune. He said, I think everybody would agree that Jay Fortune has been the most improved player of the season, and it just praised, how he's grown in the midfield and matured both on and off the field. And he said, this club's midfield is in good shape, especially with guys like Jay Fortune. So tell me what you got. What you got on Jay?
I agree.
Some of this is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of I guess, super spicy moments. There's a couple we'll talk about, but Jay Fortune was another one. I feel like, you had to. He's youth, right? He's youth that's starting, and you can't have 11 designated players or 11 TAM players out on the field. You just can't. So I'm excited to see Jay come back.
I mean, it's not a question though, right? Like, I don't think anyone ever thought that was. I mean, he was trusted in some big time moments towards the end of the year. And if anything, I think we said going into this Miami series before we went into it is getting experience, right? All these players that have stayed, right? Some of them might not have tasted too much of the MLS playoffs, right? And quite a few new guys, right, that have come in that are supposed to be our big time players long term. They just learned what an MLS playoff schedule is like, right? quick trip over to Montreal, back and forth from Miami. Like these are, like I think you can't understand what it's like until you experience, right? I mean, some leagues don't have playoffs, so you got to get used to that, and then you got to get used to this travel, and sometimes ridiculous travel, which we saw happen. I mean, you saw
Yep.
Gregerson learn a little bit about that in the wrong way, right? Short travel, gets injured in Miami, going from Montreal into Miami. Quick turnaround, he gets hurt. Like these are just things that you know all of these guys have got some valuable experience. Anyone that's coming back here that was able to experience, or even if they didn't play, travel in it, you just went into the biggest. I don't care what you say about all of these playoffs. The biggest part of these playoffs were Atlanta and Miami. I don't care what you end up getting, what's left. That was it, right? You had the entire eyes of the world on that series, right? Look, my New York and Orlando, okay, there's not going to be anywhere close to what people that watched Atlanta and Miami. There's nothing like it, right? So I said about Tata yesterday, like the pressure on Tata because it's Miami, right? And he's not a Miami coach. It's the whole world, right? Any Messi fan that lives anywhere is coming out on Twitter and yelling at him for missing the series. So, but for Atlanta, it's the same thing. People watched you, right? You got some respect from people as well. So you knew, like all these players knew, like this isn't just watching, just a small, American fan base that's watching it. You've got the world watching it. And these guys delivered. And the biggest moment of these playoffs, I don't care what, like I said, I don't care what MLS Cup is, right? I don't care what it is. The biggest moment of these entire playoffs was this round. And there's nothing that'll top it.
Henry, what you got?
No, I mean, if we're going back to Jay, for me, he was also kind of a no-brainer to take the option on. I mean, dude improved a lot throughout the season. Won the starting spot from Muyumba, which was pretty big, and just overall, if you watch him play, just his confidence to take on players and not get anxious on the ball, like that's very valuable for a guy who's like 21. He's still got some development to do. Also, he's still got some growth, and hopefully, you can get another veteran presence in that midfield, like another Dax McCarty to help him continue sort of that path. Because right now, I feel like he's on the path to become a very, very dependable midfielder in MLS, potentially in the next few years. So, yeah, I hope he continues, and as long as he could stay here, like that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I agree. Again, nothing but good things to say about Jay. And I will say, I think depending on who the next coach is, we can look at it from the lens of 2024. And this is me just playing devil's advocate. A new coach could come in and say, hey, we have this somewhat more veteran midfielder in Tristan Muyumba, right? Maybe the new coach looks at that and is able to, and I think Travis had said, would like to see the next manager be able to get Muyumba playing well again to pair back with Slish and Fortune. There is a world where all three of them are on the pitch at the same time, but of course you got to add in Miranchuk. But a new coach might not look at it the same way. He might not put as much trust in such a young guy and may work with Muyumba to get Muyumba to fit better. And then Jay kind of still takes on that protege role. But Jay is still going to have plenty of highlight reel material to show the new coach and say, hey, this is what I did. This is why I earned the spot in the first place, and I want to keep it. At the end of the day, it's competition, and the midfield especially needs competition. So he's here for it. I know he is. And he's rapidly maturing into a guy that just bleeds Atlanta United. So I'm excited for him. So the final one out of all the exercise contracts is Santiago Sosa. And this is, I guess, the first speed bump out of all the names so far that I've seen a lot of conversation about. What do y'all think the reasoning is? Kind of what do you think about the whole Santiago Sosa exercise contract?
Well, there's interest in him, right? I mean, there's interest in buying that contract, so you have to exercise it, right? Like you don't just give anything away. And I was actually gonna, we didn't get the chance to go back to it, but I'm a little shocked that Ibarra, right? Like maybe there just wasn't interest, maybe they weren't getting any offers for him, and that's where like let's just get an opportunity, get him off the books, right? Because I don't follow all these players after they leave. I heard positive things from the people that did follow Ibarra, right? That he was having some good performances. So honestly, that was maybe the shocker for me. But the Sosa one wasn't, because you saw the rumor, and you two probably know a little bit more about it than I do. But there were rumors already out there that they were going to be exercising that contract. So obviously a no brainer for Atlanta.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to go back to Racing Club on a permanent deal. And so obviously, I mean, you'd rather get something for him, right? Like exercising his contract guarantees that you're going to get something for him if he is actually going to go to Racing. Because I mean, if you don't take the option, then he just goes for free. That's just not good business, man. And Garth's all about the business. So no, I think once you delve into it and think about it a little bit deeper, it actually makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine with it because I'm like 90% sure he's not on the roster come January.
Yeah. I mean, when you've had a guy who, first of all, he's been gone for a minute, he's been on loan for a minute, he's been receiving interest. Like we've all seen the rumors, right? We've all seen everything that's been said. You don't want essentially kind of what happened with Miles Robinson. Of course, there's a lot of different variables with that, but Miles Robinson as a player, right, as a contract, had a lot of value, and then everything happened with the injury, and then the ball was entirely in his court because he was on that last year of his contract. He didn't have to do anything. In this case, by exercising the option that's already there, it's in the contract. So all you got to do is say, yeah, we're going to do it. That puts the ball back in your court, in Atlanta's court. And so they can kind of make that decision. And the fact that you already have clubs out there that have shown publicly interest in the guy, it's at the end of the day, yeah, it's just a business decision, and it's a smart one. You have to. So, but I've seen people kind of being like, why do we do that? That's the kind of the reasoning behind it. There's that's maybe a little bit of the chess. I wouldn't call that like 4D chess. That's, to me, it's common sense, but it's something you got to do. So, all right, other names, Eric Centeno. To me, that one wasn't a big surprise. I mean, he's consistently been loaned back to the twos. It didn't really feel like he was going to break through. So that was kind of, an obvious one for me. The one, had you asked me this 6 months ago, I would have given you a different answer, but I think the writing was a little bit on the wall. But Nick Firmino, he unfortunately kind of had a drop at the end of 2024.
Friend of the show, Nick Firmino.
Yeah, friend of the show. Yeah, and I love Nick Firmino. I think he's going to be another one that's going to land on his feet well somewhere.
Barcelona?
Yeah, hey, buddy, I wish you the best of luck, Nick. I hope you end up at Barcelona somehow or the other. I hate to see him go. I really do. I like Nick, and but in the interest of clearing out space, I mean, this was almost one of those that you had to do as well, Henry.
Yeah, it makes sense when you look at the club's ambitions. Like Garth said, this is a big club that wants to be competing. And when you want to be competing, you need someone who at that number 10 spot is going to be a reliable backup. And not to say that Nick Firmino isn't a good player. He's just not up to the caliber that Atlanta's looking for. And that showed whenever he had to go on the field because Almada was out, right? And it just wasn't the same. It wasn't anywhere close to the same. And so clearly with that kind of gap, like you've got to make a change somewhere. And this opens up some spots for you to potentially do that kind of thing. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you've got at least one U22 slot opening. You could get a pretty decent attacking midfielder that's young and promising for, on a U22 spot. You could, but, Garth talked about that a little bit. I asked him about that today, and we'll tell you about what he said. But basically, there are other options for depth, better options for depth at that position. And it's such a crucial position too. If you're going to rely on number 10s, you really, really need to get those right. And so this to me makes sense. That's unfortunate because, Nick Firmino's a great guy and all, but yeah, I just feel like it had to happen.
Agreed. I mean, unfortunately, if you're a young player coming up here, you feel like got to be really good at your position or be a position where Atlanta United is willing to take a chance on you for being young and inexperienced, right? Garth very much values experience, right? And he'll give experience to some of these guys, but it's got to be in a position of need, right? And that they're willing to take a chance on it. And you saw some players get that right this season, but they also were lacking depth for a lot of this year too, right? It was a rebuilding. You don't want to call it they were tanking because the tanking didn't work, right? If you were trying for the number 1 spot in the MLS Super Draft, which I know quite a few people were desperately wanting, I'm joking. You give some players some chances throughout this, and they did that, right? Like, as much as I screamed and yelled at the rooftop about the Open Cup and not starting some of the guys that probably should have been starting to have a chance at a trophy, they got that experience, right? You got experience when some players went out for international break that they had. So, yeah, unfortunately, when we saw him, be on the main roster here, right? You knew that it was going to be hard for him to really get an opportunity. And the opportunities he did have, he really didn't show enough. He did score a goal in the Open Cup, though.
Yeah, and he'll always have that one goal in front of the bins that set the whole place off against, I think it was New York City last year.
The tying goal, right?
Yeah, the game tying goal.
Right at the end.
It had been on for like 8 minutes, I think, at that point, debut. And it was a dream moment for him for sure. And I hope he's able to recapture that somewhere at some point for sure. All right. So we talked about Franco Ibarra.
Well, real quick, because I gave my thoughts on it. Are you both a little surprised that they didn't? I guess there was talks, right, that he'd been playing well. So you're a little surprised that they just let him go for nothing?
Not really. I think it'd be a little bit different if he had been getting some spot minutes here and there to where like it was clear the club really valued him. But it just seemed like there was a massive drop off. And it's a weird place to be, right? Like when you're playing with a second team, and this is with any club, we've seen it with a handful of players over the years. I always kind of call it that purgatory where you're stuck between like you're almost too good for the second team, but you're kind of struggling to break through the first team. And it felt like for a minute there, he was going to break through to the first team, like in a significant way. And it felt like after 2023, having such a phenomenal season with the twos, scoring so many goals, breaking the record, that maybe he wasn't going to be stuck in that purgatory. Maybe he was going to make it. And then this season, going back to what Henry was saying with, Omar Jackson Conway was the one I was getting at. It seemed like he was going to make it. He was going to kind of break through. He was going to do his thing. And when Almada went out, he had his opportunity. And it's a fine line. That's a tough opportunity because it's a tough guy to replace. Like Almada, there's not really anybody out there. The only one out there that could have, I think, been like a like-for-like swap for Thiago Almada in MLS right now to this day would have been Ricky Puig. So for Nick Firmino to have to step into those shoes, it was always going to be a tough ask. And, it kind of, I think, showed that just wasn't maybe his pure strength. Obviously, he's a different player. So, no, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It sucks. Again, I like the guy. I really do. But I also just don't think this club, the way they play is built for a guy playing that kind of like pseudo 8 and 10 role that Nick played. I think there are teams out there that would fit him. I just don't think Atlanta was one.
And I apologize. The question was about Ibarra.
Oh,
I didn't want to stop you because you were
Same
on a
thing.
roll there.
I was on a roll. I really was, man. I was cooking.
No, But like Ibarra, right? Like, I mean, I heard at least a little bit of hype about him. So letting him go for nothing, that was the question. So we were surprised that they just said, you know what, we're not going to chance it, right? Because we've chanced hoping to get rid of a U22 and getting stuck with him for a transfer period. Were you shocked that they just said, just go?
Henry, what you got?
Here's the thing with me, right? With Sosa, we've already heard of, okay, yeah, he's definitely going back to Racing. Like, that's the rumor that we've already heard. We even wrote about it. It's on the website. Like, you already know they want him back 100%. Nothing's going to happen to that. With Ibarra, you don't have that security because you haven't heard about whether Rosario does want to take him permanently. And so while, yes, you could keep him and then potentially get a good transfer fee for him, like if you don't, then you're stuck with him. And Rosario can basically kind of twist your arm and say, okay, well, you already exercised the contract option on him, so he's on your roster. And we know MLS things, you gotta get rid of him, right? You want to get rid of him. And so kind of hold that over Atlanta's head in a sense. With this, you kind of just are secure, like, okay, he's not going to be on the books at all. He's done. You have that slot open for sure. And even because I'm not sure exactly how much value you would have actually gotten out of him anyways, but I think it's just better not to chance it at this point. So I completely understand in that sense why with Sosa they exercised the option, but with Ibarra they didn't.
Yeah, and I agree. I think what it comes down to is the interest there. If the interest isn't there, because I see in the comments, like Omar, saying Ibarra is the best number 8 in Atlanta. You also have to go back to like what Dan said here. Said for me, the Ibarra situation where they had to loan him kind of broke the relationships. Better to cut the cord. That's definitely a valid point. I mean, you think about how unhappy he was when that happened, and if there is no clear interest to the point where you can almost guarantee a deal would get done if you do exercise this contract, couple that with the issues from before, and it's like, let's just maybe not take a chance. Because what you don't want is an unhappy, demoralized player stuck on your roster that you really can't do much about. Of course, you could always do what's the name of what I'm trying to say? The
buyout.
Yes, buyout. I had all kinds of weird names like contract kill and all. Shows where my mind is at. The buyout.
Pineda Island.
Yeah, that. You could use that, but who knows what kind of Garth is looking at, if he has any ideas on like who he wants to use that on, if at all. He said today, multiple times, like this team was in the playoffs and they actually gave a good account of themselves. They didn't end up as bad off as maybe a lot of people thought they would. And so it showed that they have the foundations here. It's not like they're cutting massive chunks of the roster. He said they have the foundations, they have the building blocks. And so maybe they don't have anybody set for a buyout. But Franco Ibarra is one of those where if you get stuck with him and he is unhappy here, the only option then is to use your buyout. And I think those buyouts, you need to be very strategic with them.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Travis saying use the buyout on Mosquera, completely open up the U22 spots. We'll say, and we're going to dive into it more once we get to the Garth comments, but Garth, he does not, I'm not going to say he doesn't value the U22 spots, but
on the contrary, he does.
He does.
He just says, like he said, they're a good investment mechanic.
Yep.
But the truth is he wants to focus on the prime age players, which is what we've heard from him very often. This isn't anything new. And so he did say, like, they're probably not going to focus too much on the U22s and more on kind of building that core with prime age players. So we'll see. I don't know what to expect from him in terms of the usage of those slots, but it tracks that he would say, we don't really want to take too many chances. kind of with the head coaching gig, right? You don't want to take a flyer on someone, and that's what a U22 really is. You're spending on potential, and Atlanta has been burned a lot by doing that, and so kind of moving away from that now, it makes sense for him to give that kind of answer.
And it kind of feels like for him, a U22, it would have to be the right kid that comes along. Like if the scouting department goes down to wherever and they're like, hey, that kid kind of wasn't on the radar, but let's put him on the radar and bring it to Garth. And, you know, if he's a guy that fits, then maybe then. But it doesn't seem like they are saying, hey, scouting department, go find us 2 U22s or 3 U22s or whatever. The right guy comes, the right guy comes. We'll see. Gray making a good comment as far as the buyout. You still got dead money from Derek Etienne from last year that feels like a potential buyout candidate. And then Zilf saying our only U22 will be fortunate on a new contract. Possibly. So you're muted.
You're muted, Tommy.
Sorry. Gray, I know you're listening, so if he's probably already typing, but give us your thoughts on what Zilf's saying about the U22 with Fortune's contract, because I think we've talked about this many times before. So Gray, start typing. Thank you. And
Gray will also have some stuff coming out about the twos. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I got to check. But anyway, carry on. So, I mean, Daniel Rios, the loan's going to expire. Always kind of felt like that was maybe a long shot as well.
Not a shot to the face.
Not a shot to the face. Too soon, man. Too soon.
High blow.
It was 24 hours.
Yeah, you're right. According to South Park, isn't it like 10 years or something? Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. Okay, that's too long. And then, yeah, of course, Dax, wish him the best of luck. I thought it was cool that he had that moment down in Orlando. It's unfortunate. I would prefer, obviously, for that to be a win. But it was cool seeing him be able to play out there in front of his family again. He made the comment in the press conference, you know, it's kind of neat to end it where it all began, which is out there in front of his friends and family. And, you know, it kind of has come full circle for him. Really cool moment. You know, it's one of those things, and it flies under the radar, and most people would never see it. But when he left, I was getting ready to leave myself, and while everybody else is going to the plane, you know, or to the bus to go back to the plane, he comes out and he's looking for the front parking lot of Entering Stadium. I'm assuming because he was going out there to, whether he was going to hang out with family, friends, go whatever, it seemed like he was staying there, you know, to spend some more time. And it was just kind of like a closure moment for Dax. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he had such a phenomenal career. And then the same thing with Quentin. You know, I wish Quentin had a little bit more in this last season, but I think he got what he wanted out of his career for sure. And they're just two guys that you got to give them nothing but a round of applause. So, all right. Anything else on the players before we jump into Garth and all?
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the three that are still in negotiations? Ronald Hernandez, Jamal Tiare, and Tyler Wolff.
Yes. Kick us off. What you got?
Well, for me, the most surprising one when I saw that he was declined was Ronald Hernandez. Mm-hmm. Especially with the context of Brooks Lennon's injury, that he's going to be out for months, and Garth reiterated that today. He did say that they are trying to bring him back, obviously, because you need someone at that position. And Ronald actually, to me, did a solid job at right back during the playoffs when Brooks was injured. Yeah, I think he did a fine job, and I think they should bring him back. I think at this point the question is, how much are you bringing him back for, and whether that is like truly worth it, or if you can get someone else at that number that is, you know, serviceable to the same extent. But yeah, that. What do you guys think about Ronald?
Mr. Atlanta United, right? I think that was a quote that someone said, like, he's all about Atlanta United. look, we trashed on Ronald here for a while now, and a lot of it had to do with the salary, right? And for a while there, he was leaving during international break as well. He was gone at times, and he's got put in some bad situations. He was a center back there that one game and had a real. I think the ball went right over his
Couple
head. People were
games.
like, "Yeah, get rid of him. Just get rid of the guy. Like we got to get rid of him there." And then obviously he really did a good job towards the end there. And then you get Brooks Lennon gone, where you don't have a lot of depth, right? Because you got rid of Caleb Wiley. You needed depth, and he was able to come in and play pretty well. So, like you said, I think they just want to get him on a more friendly deal here. If he wants to stay here, I think as long as it's not something that is offensive to him, like apparently what Boca did to Julian Gressel, I think that there's a very good opportunity to keep him here. And just like I said before with Brad, like obviously they said, Brad, we're paying you what your contract is, right? Ronald, I think they're like, we want you, but let's have a conversation here.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
think
it's a short window too, right? I'm sorry, it's a short window, right? It's only a couple days from the season, and they're probably not talking contracts with these guys throughout it, right? They want to focus them on playing. So you really have, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday afternoon. You have, 24 hours ish to have this conversation real quick, right? Whether it's with his agent or not. I mean, or just say like, we're doing this, and if you want to still have a conversation, we'll still have a conversation. But like, that's the thing about this. You don't, like any other season, you have, months to have those conversations, right? Or at least a little bit to have that conversation here. You got to move fast in MLS. So I'm glad that they're still having these conversations with them. The same with TRA as well.
You have a quick thing. You do have a little bit longer because the 24-hour deadline, tomorrow's deadline, is simply to announce what you announced today. So at this point, the options declined. That's that. But what they would be doing right now is renegotiating a new contract for him. And that would basically be it. And you have more time to do that basically before the reentry draft, which is something that he's eligible for at this point. So yeah, you basically just want to have that happen before the date is December 13th. Yeah. Basically have that happen before then.
Yeah. So you have a little bit of time, and it's not like, especially for the agents in the club, this conversation has been happening, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form with all of these players. Because the end of the season officially was Sunday night. Like all of this stuff didn't get decided like between then and now, right? So this does give you, like you said, Henry, a little bit of extra time to figure out what's going to work. And you got a little bit going both for the club and for Ronald. I mean, the club needs a right back who can play left back if needed. Though he self-admittedly doesn't like it as much. But you have Pedro Amador over there now, and it's knock on wood, as long as he stays healthy, like he's got that locked down. But with Brooks Lennon being injured, and Sonny, I saw your comment back up there. Yeah, he's going to be out for months. Probably, I think conservatively, if you're lucky, maybe March he would be back, but it could be May before he comes back. So you don't want to start off the season with no true right back, and we'll get into the comments from Garth about making Noah Cobb a right back, or trying to rather. But at the same time, like Ronald has always kind of been that guy that's just there when you need him. And does he go and gamble and try to find another MLS team or another, kind of first division team somewhere in the world? I mean, he's done it. He's played at Aberdeen, right? Then he's here. But it's a little bit of a gamble on his part as well, because it's not like he's been a bona fide starter for years. So it's one of those, do you gamble on yourself and hope you can find the right fit somewhere, or do you stay where the team wants you and you just may have to make a little bit of a pay cut? It is what it is. I lean to him staying because I think he really likes the city. And I don't think they would shaft him so bad with pay that they just wouldn't take him back, especially considering the injury situation. But to me, that was the big one. I mean, Jamal Tiare, I think at this point, the club is so focused on finding strikers that they have cast such a big net. I think they're going to get a DP striker and probably another backup striker. It also doesn't help that Jamal Tiare cannot stay healthy, and that's a struggle. Tyler Wolff, I like Tyler, and I think he's had moments. I mean, 2023 was a phenomenal year for him. Then he kind of had a little bit of a drop off this year. He had that great goal at the end of the season, right? That helped put them in the playoffs. Or no, that was Miami game. Which one was that?
Red Bulls. Red Bulls at home.
So those are, he's been here for a while again. He's one of those that I think if you could find the right deal, finagle just a couple things around, you can keep Tyler as a backup probably, but then you got to decide like a backup to where, right? Left wing where he kind of plays. You have Shande there, and out of Garth's mouth today, they may be looking at a left wing as a DP. So, where does Tyler Wolff fit in all that? Times he's played as a 10. Is he the backup to Alexei Miranchuk, or is he just a right wing guy backup to Saba? He provides depth, which is great, and you're going to need it, but it's going to be, those are the three that are going to be very, very interesting to find out here in the next, 2 weeks or so before they have to really make a decision.
Yeah. With the wingers, like, it makes sense that you want to open up that spot. Keep in mind, Ashton Gordon is moving up from the 2s, and he is another winger. And so you have all these wingers with Mascara, with Shande, with Saba, with potentially, the DP winger that you're bringing in. And really, if you're going to bolster the position, it makes sense to make room for it. And as key as Tyler Wolff has been in certain moments, to me, it's just kind of he's struggled to find that consistency. Last season, I know he went on a tear and scored quite a few goals. The season that homegrowns went crazy.
Yeah.
But that just didn't happen this season, and so I guess you could argue he overperformed last year. So I don't know. I think he'll definitely land on his feet. He'll probably be serviceable as a backup somewhere else, maybe outside of MLS. But the move to me makes sense.
But I still say that they're negotiating with him.
What's that?
Maybe I don't know. I feel like they might be trying to. I haven't seen his contract information, but they might be trying to get him on a lower amount. I'm not really sure. Either way, he's going on waivers, so I'm not sure why they would say that.
Yeah, it's just it's weird that specific that they pointed him out. Like maybe they're just because he's grown up, throughout this, that maybe they're just trying to work on it. I don't know. It's just that one just didn't make sense to me because like you said, they want to get some experience, and I do think he overperformed last year, right? I mean, we said that he was just in the right place at the right time for a lot of those goals last season. Well, technically now 2 seasons ago, right? It was he scored a couple nice goals. Let's not take those away, but a lot of them it was just tippity taps right in, right? He was just there. But you got to be
about being on the back post, man. I'm just saying.
Right, but you still have to be there, right?
Yeah.
And obviously players aren't there, right? People don't make those runs. He did.
Yeah.
He was able to get them in, but yeah, I mean, it was something that he wasn't going to be able to replicate. But thanks for your time.
Well, yeah. Gray here saying that he's being seriously considered for the Philippines national team, and thinking about it a little bit more, maybe it could be something of the Sosa situation. We haven't really heard of him being rumored connected to another team necessarily, but potentially there's some sort of deal with, I don't know, remember when he went on loan to Belgium or something like that? Maybe there's another team that's showing interest. Dialogues are open between the clubs, and maybe Atlanta United just wants time to figure out, can we get a deal done for him? Can we get something for him? Or is it definitely just, okay, put him on waivers and be done with it?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good shout. I think I think out of all the names that were listed overall, I think those are the three that you really did have. Like, it makes sense. You had to consider those in some way. And I mean, when it comes to this point, you have to be okay with potentially not having them next year. That's just part of the gamble, right? But all of those have showed in some way that they have something in them that can be unlocked. And you never know what a new coach can do for a specific player. And you're getting a new coach. So it'll be interesting to see. And with Garth's timeline, there may be an announcement before they have to make those final decisions on the 13th, possibly. So
Give them to me now. Give them to me now.
I know. I will. Garth did say, and we'll get in all the comments here in 1 second. He did say that he is hoping to have the final candidate nailed down by next week. And then, of course, but that's not when the announcement's going to happen. The announcement's going to come after. It could be the week after. He said he would like to
before
get
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said
it's too long.
Well, he said he would like to do in the next couple of weeks.
Put a new coach on your Christmas wish list, Tommy.
It's been there.
On your letter to Santa.
It was on my letter to the Easter Bunny.
And
he didn't pull through.
Uncle
I lost
Sam,
a tooth a little while
Uncle
ago.
Joe.
The Tooth Fairy didn't help me out. The Rock didn't come to help me out. Great movie, by the way. And yeah, Halloween. Nothing. I didn't get anything. I didn't get any treats.
Hey man, always rely on the Pilgrims and Thanksgiving, buddy. We can bring it.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. Yeah, I mean, Tyler hadn't bring it for me.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
So Tyler,
know, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you, but the coach wasn't the only thing that Garth said would happen before Christmas. Also, the technical director position, which he mentioned that he wanted those roles to kind of be connected in a sense. He mentioned figuring out the established connections between the technical director and the coach, kind of make sure that they have an understanding of the direction that they want to go in, kind of be on the same page, which perhaps Atlanta United has struggled with that in the past, with maybe disconnects between the front office and the coaching staff at some points. And so I think this is a very smart move by Garth. I think Garth definitely knows what he's doing in that sense. Look, man, this process has been slow. It's been, people have been dying of anticipation trying to figure this out. But I think at the end of the day, this makes sense that they're trying to get this right and that they're taking the time to do it. So yeah, the wait is almost over. Like a new movie about to release before Christmas. Like it's coming up close. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to point out, Garth said that they'd gotten it down to 2 finalists at this point for, I understand, both positions. He also said that the coach search wasn't just limited to, people with MLS experience or just coaches in the US. So obviously Jim Curtin has been floated around, former Philadelphia Union manager. Some people really like that. Some people really do not like that. But there's potentially, there's another name out there that we don't know at this point who it is. And at this point, I really think it's someone outside of MLS. So yeah. I guess we'll see. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think there's probably going to be a surprise name that pops up, whether it's the one or if it's just the other finalist. I think it'll be somebody that we've only kind of mentioned like on the fringes or possibly even not at all. I think you might have to consider that maybe Sartini is a name only because everybody was kind of shocked at the fact that he left and was let go. You kind of wonder, was there some kind of agreement there that said, hey, we're open to you talking to other clubs, and maybe one of those was Atlanta, and maybe a decision has, been made. Who knows? I don't know. But I do think, whether it's Jim Curtin, whether it's Sartini, I don't think Nick Cushing is going to be the guy after the New York City thing today. But I think there's at least going to be one name, probably for both, probably for the sporting director and the head coach, that we just haven't really thought about, or at least if we did, it was one of those that we probably mentioned it once or twice on the show. Maybe on the, on Twitter, maybe on the website, like probably not a big, I don't want to say not a big name, but a name that just didn't get a lot of attention over the past couple of months. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'm excited, but I just need it to happen soon.
Now, keep in mind, just because Garth said, that it wouldn't be officially announced until, before Christmas, a little later, it's very possible we'll know the name close to after a decision is made. Just, probably a Tom Bomb or something like that. I don't know. The name will probably get out before the official announcement. And so if that helps you with your anticipation a little bit, then good.
That's the thing. You're going to start hearing rumors, I think, sooner or later.
Pep Guardiola to Atlanta United because he's on a 6-game winless streak.
I know, right? What is that slacker doing over there? Dan said if it's Sartini, we should just get Rob. Phillips said, fine, I guess I'll take Klopp if I have to.
He's too busy at Red Bulls.
We'll see. Yeah, for real. All right. So before we dive, no, that was one thing I really wanted to hit on really quick, and then we'll jump into your depth chart and then the rest of the Garth comments. But I asked Garth today because it's been going around, right? Like multiple times he said, I want the sporting director and the coach to have that connection, kind of like what you were just talking about. I want them to work together. And my question to him was like, what metrics are you using to kind of determine like whether they're going to work well together or not? Because this is not a common situation. Like it's not very common that you have a sporting director and a head coaching vacancy all at the same time. So how do you get two guys in there simultaneously that you or gals, whatever, that we're going to fit? And he was like, it's really, and I'm paraphrasing, he was like, it's really nothing scientific. It's just relying on all the contacts that he has in the league and just sitting people down, on Zoom. He said, joked around, around the coffee table, whatever, to have those discussions and kind of determine, like, are they on the same page? Are they prepared to go forward in the same way? Which is not surprising. I mean, I don't know that there's a metric out there that tells you when two people are going to work well together other than sitting them down and saying, hey, how do you feel about the way this team needs to go? And how do you feel about the way this team needs to go? And once you get two guys that kind of have the same vibes and they kind of work on the same page, then those are your two guys that you're going to have to go with. So, I hope
like a dating app.
It is. It's Garth Lagerwey's dating app. Yeah. It's basically what it is. Hopefully with much better results than probably what happens with most speed dating, I guess, but we'll see. All right.
Wait, let me just jump in there. Like this is a normal thing in the NFL, like frequently. When they usually get rid of one, they get rid of the other. I mean, a lot of times because things aren't working out, and it's a unique situation here. I still think that I don't believe that it's not Henderson, right? I'm not falling for that there's another here. I mean, we've obviously, as soon as Atlanta United gets eliminated, Henderson's pretty much thinking and posting that picture. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't think it is. So I think that they're just meeting with maybe the two coaching finalists with Henderson and saying, here's what I want. What do you think? How can I help you? And see who kicks it off, right? And there's some teams that do it weird. Like some people hire the coach first and then they bring in the general manager. And there was a weird thing the Falcons did a while ago with the coach. But I think it was with Arthur Smith and Terry. But it was definitely a weird situation there. But I think that they're doing it right. But usually you hire the general manager first and then work on the coach. So I still believe it's Henderson. I'm not falling for it. I think that he's it. And then, they're just trying to see who's going to work well together. But
not going to let Garth pull the wool over your eyes.
No, Garth, I've got you figured out.
Or pull the curtain over your eyes.
Oh, no. That was good.
We did get something Atlanta United posted a couple of minutes ago. I got the alert for it. So thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Look at that serious face.
FEA, bud.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, how many shirts he sold. I hope he got all the money for all the shirts, right? Like, give him all the money for that.
Yep. Nothing
So,
but the best of luck, buddy. For sure.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Kind of surprised it took that long for that post to come out. I was kind of wondering when it was going to happen, but
Yeah.
what it be? All right. Next on Show and Tell. And if you're just joining, by the way, we had a whole moment about Rob in the beginning of the show. So I don't think that's all the time we're spending on Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Next.
We have gone through our emotions with Rob at the very beginning of the show.
We lit candles. We played Sarah McLachlan. We did all of it. You missed it. Rewind.
Yeah. You have to go back and watch the beginning. All right. So, Henry,
What
you're going to explain this.
Oh yeah, it's my time to present my project, my final project.
And then we can go through the other stuff from Garth. So I will put this up here.
All right.
On the screen for all the y'all listening after the fact. It is an Excel spreadsheet, which if that doesn't make you turn this podcast off right now, I don't know what will, but please stay with us.
Get excited, nerds.
Yeah,
okay?
Be excited. This is quality work by Henry. I promise. He will explain it.
Can we get rid of us here and
what? No.
Probably.
I mean, this is so small. This is like, let's
back me up, bro.
Let's make it bigger here.
I'm gonna do my best here.
Hold on. Let me see if I can make this better. You
Meanwhile,
start.
I deal with the freaking boomers trying to deal with technology.
Shut up.
I'll get it going.
So, guys, this is a depth chart, which basically I went through and updated Atlanta United's depth chart after the roster moves that were announced today. Quick note before we get started: 3 additions: Jaden Hibbert at goalkeeper, Aiden Torres in midfield, and Ashton Gordon on the wing. Those are 2 players who are going to join the first team starting January 1st. So those are into the depth chart. And please, I know people are, it's gone. Oh, there it is. I know people are going to yell at me because they did on Twitter about my ratings and stuff. That is completely my opinion. No like actual metric behind it. But yeah. So as you can see, we have no one at striker. And that is probably issue number 1. Garth talked about.
I got you guys. It's bigger now.
Garth talked about the, wanting to focus on the attackers. He said definitely an attacker and a defender, but he also went in and said, one of the DPs is most likely going to be a striker, and so because you got to rebuild that core. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, you also have attacking midfielder and CDM, and left back. Let's throw left back in there. Have just 1 player at this point, and you need to add depth at those positions as well. You just let go of Nick Firmino, you need another backup number 10. You just let go of Dax McCarty retired, you need someone there. For the most part, kind of the consensus is you have some work to do over the offseason because you need to fill this in a little bit more if you're going to actually be competitive. On my little key on the right side, blue is for MLS Elite, and you probably noticed that I have no one as MLS Elite at this point because no one's really proven to be so. Moranchuk would probably be the top candidate at this point, just hasn't showed that yet, and that's not to say that he can't when 2025 starts up. I know Garth in the presser also talked about maximizing what he can do by building around him as much as possible. He acknowledged that Moranchuk is best when there are runners, going into space and Moranchuk can feed them through. Saba, that connection with Saba is a good example of what he's been able to do. But, he's kind of the only one at this point. So build a little bit more around him and you'll probably see him shine. I know people are saying like Amador should be MLS Elite. I think he's awesome. I'm going to give him a sec to prove that a little bit more next season. Still, I think he's great. And overall,
people said Mayumba was elite after a cup of coffee too, Henry. So don't.
Yeah,
you're more than fine.
Yeah, but yeah, this is kind of where we're at this point, and just a ton of work to do, an off season with tons of stuff ahead. So we'll see. I guess maybe should I have added Noah Cobb at right back as depth at this point? I don't even know where to go with that, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I also have this depth chart on Twitter, and I'll be updating it when we get news of more players added to the ranks.
Y'all,
any questions, class?
y'all let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with, what
We get
numbers.
so many comments.
Philip said at one point, I thought Mayumba was the French Nagby.
Well, remember, like after that first time, like seeing him, right? Like everyone,
dude, I was
ready,
sold.
like, this was it. Rob Usry, I think, was like you could never replace Nagby, but after that first game, like you could tell he was like, this guy's it. It's it. We finally found the replacement, and I think everyone thought that. And then everyone's like, what happened to him in the offseason?
I do think Mayumba, I think with the right coach, he's going to turn back into a starter, like in a bona fide starter, a guy that you're going to get a lot more out of. I think with him and Shonda Silva especially, those are two guys that they did regress this year. And Shonda, you can put a lot of that on his foot injury, whatever. But either way, I think you get the right coach in here that can better individual players, right? Then you might be having a totally different conversation, and it might look like it did back in 2023. Some of the comments, Dan saying, like to see Cobb as the backup 6. Him and Efrain Morales both have played that position at times, especially Efrain Morales. And Justin saying, excited for your chart to see it build out. I mean, Tommy, is there anything that you disagree with on here?
No. I think a lot of people, the way I see Twitter, Miranchuk would be in the red.
Well, that's Twitter for you.
Look,
I think he's a solid player, man. It's just he needs to prove a little bit more.
I think he needs a preseason with a manager and some DP players around him to really make him better, right? I think that's really going to be the key for him. So I understand that people, he didn't come out, all nice and shiny and, but I think he'll get there for sure. It's just, I think he needs, a better cast around him and a manager that has some time to put some tactics into him. I mean, I don't think all the analytics have lied about him, right? Like you saw a lot of people saying good things about him that had watched him before, right? But it's just, we got to see what happens with him.
I think one thing that just kind of struck me, stands out, not like in a really bad way, but I think I would maybe take Williams' number 6 and Gregerson's number 8 and split the difference between them and make them both a 7, because I feel like, yeah, I just kind of feel like Derek Williams is, I don't even want to say the word improved. I just think he came into his own as a leader, and he was called multiple times a quiet leader by lots of his teammates, by Rob. He was there through all of Gregerson's injuries, right? And he kind of held it down, and he became the guy. I mean, look at some of the stuff he did in Miami as well. It kind of went under the radar because of what happened with Brad, but he was throwing his body out there and all over the back line trying to make things happen. So that's just my 2 cents about where you're wrong, Henry. No, you did good. You did good.
Thanks, man.
I like it. So, Tommy, I know you're coming up close on other things that you got to do. Let's go through some of the stuff that Garth said in the actual press conference. And again, it's over on the website in the article. Not to go through every single thing, but Henry, what stood out to you that we haven't already talked about that Garth said?
So a couple of things. We kind of touched on Noah Cobb, potentially them trying to try him at a right back. I'm not sure what qualities, they're trying to see in him in terms of, does he have that crossing quality that normally, Atlanta's fullbacks have had? Are they just looking for someone that's more purely defensive and someone that'll kind of anchor, stay back during build-up to let Amador fly on the left side? Potentially, I don't know. That's one thing. Also, I don't remember who asked him, but Garth said that they're not limited by the money they made in the summer. So they spent what, 13 million on Moranchuk, and that's it from like what was it, like 50 million? So they've got 37-ish million from the summer, plus more stuff that you can add on to that to get your 2 DPs and whatever else you're bringing in. Because Garth did say, they're looking to use both DP slots in the winter, in the offseason. He said one is most likely going to be a striker and the other maybe a left winger, which is something that we've been kind of advocating for, I feel, something that we've been talking about. Someone asked, Rob Usry asked him about Joseph, because, we mentioned him on one of the shows. He was let go from Montreal, and whether he might make a grand return. Tommy is grinning. He said,
I could just see Rob like writing like the Eminem video Stan, like writing "Dear Garth."
Garth said the door is not closed on Joseph's return. They just have to see, if he would actually fit within the team's plans. So we will see. That's not a no, but
hang on. I got to give some more context, because I've also seen a tweet that didn't give all the context. Garth specifically said, yes, they're not closing any doors. But he reiterated, he went back to another point that he made in the press conference where he said he really is looking for speed with these new players. He's looking for those guys that can get in behind and, be that kind of target guy for Moranchuk and for the wingers, and somebody that's going to open up space behind defenses. He said all that. And then when this question was asked by Rob about Joseph Martinez, he said, yeah, they're not closing any doors, but he reiterated that they're looking for speed. And the implication there, obviously, is Joseph Martinez, especially after his ACL injury, he's not a speed demon. He's a guy that can make you pay in and around the box, but he's not going to beat a ton of people in a foot race. It's just not what Garth is looking for. So, not to rain on anybody's parade, I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just trying to give the full context of the quote, because he didn't say no. But like when you ask your parent for like that new game and they're like, well, maybe, but that was this moment. All right. It was like, I'm going to find a reason to not do it because it just doesn't fit our budget right now. And in this case, it's not the budget. It's just, he's not a fit for the team. I'm just saying.
Makes sense.
Here's Rob. Please, Garth, sign. Joe, I mean, that's a lot of the fan base, right? Just begging for him.
But yeah, that was pretty much it for Garth's remarks. The other thing, which I did touch on, is that I asked him, what about the U22 slots? And he said, they're not really focusing on those. That they are, they're those investments, and that they can be valuable, but that they're not the team's focus right now. They're going for prime age players, which also, if you think about it, that kind of shuts down a little bit more on the Joseph thing, because Joseph is like 31, 32. So he is kind of past that prime age. So probably not going to happen, but like he said, the door is not closed.
Yep. And then
Nice
TV
comment
said
there.
Guard clause.
Well,
I think one of the things that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Ronald and Tyler Wolf and Jamal Tiara and probably others in a way, he said that the team wants to recalibrate some salaries just to reflect their role on the team, which kind of tells me, like, if you're a backup player, you probably need to start getting paid like a backup player. And it's no offense, but that's just how it should be, right? Grace said, is Tito still fast? I would take Tito back in a heartbeat. Like, I love Joseph Martinez, I do. Bring Tito Villalba back, please.
I think people are more interested about do his calves still look good?
Maybe. We didn't really touch on what Garth said about Rob Valentino, but he had a lot of great things to say. And he talked about, Rob did great, but the club's looking for more experience. Gave tons of praise to him, but they're looking for more experience, and not just in MLS. Going back to what Henry was kind of talking about earlier, it's not just MLS experience. It may be outside of the league that they're looking for, and it kind of seems that way. So,
experience and a winning record is
yes,
what he talked about.
Yes, which is what did I keep saying about Patrick Vieira? I said it over and over again. Like, it wouldn't be bad, but the record doesn't and didn't do it for me. I want somebody that's just a straight up proven winner. That's what I want. That shouldn't be a bad thing. Like, we have the money. Go get the guy, whoever it is, go find him.
Right. And like Dukes and Bell, that was one of their things about Rob Valentino. It's like, you don't have to spend as much money on getting a manager anywhere. Like, Arthur Blank doesn't care about that. It has nothing to do with the salary cap at all. So talking about just saving some extra money to stay with Rob was just a silly comment, in my opinion. Like, it has nothing to do with it at all. There's no monetary value with here at all. Like, go get whoever you want, and this team will pay for it.
Yeah. That's fine. Justin, Tito's Cavs are worth $20 million. Easy.
Each.
On OnlyFans. Yeah.
Dylan saying you guys are bringing Curtin into existence, and I hate it.
Hold on, real quick. I got to leave here in a minute.
Oh boy.
Let's have a conversation here, everybody. I'm taking the hat off. I'm sweating. I have mentally prepared myself that that's the move, right? That's where we're going to be going is Jim Curtin. I could be very wrong here, but obviously they showed interest, right? They showed interest. He turned him down because he was being loyal to Philadelphia. Respect to Jim Curtin for that, right? I think that's absolute respect there, right? Yeah. Someone comes with more money, probably more money, right? And offering you the keys to 2 DP players. It probably each one could cost more than the entire Philadelphia Union team. And you're offering him everything that he's wanted forever. And he says no. Is he authentic? We'll never know. Well, we might know soon. But the villain, obviously he's playing the villain, right? And I think that he's very good at doing that, right? And he did that with the Athletic article. I think it was the Athletic where he, talked about Atlanta being a party town and people are just coming in from out of town to party. Jim, I come out of town to watch soccer and party. Multitasking is a real thing, okay? And I get it. But like, if the dude comes here, right? If he comes into the press conference and he makes a joke, right, about it, I think someone said, I don't remember who it was, said if he comes in with a Georgia driver's license, right, and puts it up there and makes a joke about it, whatever. And I think we talked about on Spaces, Tyler, before
instantly liked at that point. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Right. And then, like, you talk about all the dark arts, right? And this is what I think we talked about in Spaces before you hopped on. Like, I understand the dark arts, and, was it Martinez that was always was flopping around left and right? I understand that's frustrating here. But you do what you need to do to win, and I think that he didn't play a lot of attractive soccer because he didn't have a lot of attractive players to do it with, right? And I think that he can be that.
You're saying Jacob Blessness is not attractive?
A full roster of it, but I don't think I would absolutely give him a chance. And I know people said, like, I'm not going to watch his team anymore if he comes here. Like, come on, guys, like, we got to give this guy a shot here. And all he's wanted since being with the Union was them to give him the type of players that he needs to win championships, right? And despite that, he almost did go win a championship, right? Bale ended that for him. But I want to see what happens here. And he's going to apologize. And he has won, right? And if you're talking about the dark arts and flopping, look, when it's happened here, right? And it has happened before, we cheer it. We cheer it on. I don't think we're just going to be a flopping team left and right. Like, that's not going to happen.
No, and
But
the
on
dark
occasion,
arts have a
when you
place.
need it to happen, right? Guzan all of a sudden goes down for 35 minutes, right? He's down there and he can't get up, and then he
Or
pops
Kubler
back up.
Torres runs into the corner.
Right. I mean, everybody's standing up there cheering, right? Like, oh, like this is gonna happen. Like, you need to take everything that you can. This guy's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of experience in MLS. He has everything that he has there. I don't think we're gonna go to boring soccer, right? Because I've watched Philly games and a lot of them have been very boring. I don't think that they're going to be doing that here, right? I think if he gets the players that he wants to, it's gonna be great. And yeah, you know what? This is your redemption story. Gordon Bombay and the Mighty Ducks got a DUI 15 minutes in the movie. An hour later, spoiler Henry, they start quacking afterwards, right? So all we know is Jim Curtin could be quacking with the team, and the entire Mercedes-Benz is quacking after a couple games into the season. You don't know what's going to happen. Jim Curtin, you're not an alcoholic, and you didn't get a DUI, but let's quack. Let's do whatever we can later down the line here. But look, I think a lot of people just don't want him because of that comment that he made here. And you know what? When there's what other manager do we hate any other managers right now in the league? I can't think of one right now. But when he calls them an asshole, right, we're going to be like, bravo, Jim. Thanks for saying that there.
I think
right?
everybody's going to dislike Miami's new manager pretty quickly. But
well, he's 15 years old, so I don't think there's any. I don't think that you can't hate a 15-year-old manager, right?
Henry's brother.
What? Tyler.
I mean,
here's my thing.
It's my favorite movie.
Here's
Jim
my
Curtis,
thing.
no
with
Emilio
Curtin.
Estevez. Who is Emilio Estevez? Sorry, go ahead, Henry.
Here's my thing with Curtin, right? He's made Philadelphia one of the most competitive MLS teams in the past 5-6 years. And in one of their best seasons, I think it was 2022, when they were at MLS Cup, they led the league in goals with like 70 something goals. And then I think it was 29 against. They had the best, goal scoring and then the best defense. And those are two things that Atlanta fans have been asking for. And it shows that they're not just going for boring soccer. They're scoring goals. They're playing exciting soccer. And Jim Curtin did that with a shoestring budget. Let's be real, because that was one of the main problems he had with the Philly front office. And so him here, that would be something different. He'd bring that experience with Arthur Blank's checkbook and all the scouting and analytics and stuff. It's something to be excited about to me. And once he starts winning, that driver's license comment is going to be forgotten. That's the thing to me. Once he starts, putting wins together and climbing the table, nobody's going to care that he said, the driver's license thing. So I know people are saying Jim Curtin gets hired and then the fans aren't going to show up. It's going to be no, I don't think that's true. Once the team starts winning and the team starts, doing well, the fans are going to show up regardless of who's on the touchline.
Yeah. I mean, and whoever shows up, the fans, you got to get behind them, right? The only one making the decision is Garth Lagerwey. And whether you like it or you don't like the decision, it's the club that you're cheering for. And yeah, I mean, look, if it is Jim Curtin, Jim has to come in here and probably already knows if he's the guy that he's going to be met with a little bit of hostility in the beginning. Just how it is. I mean, the flopping and all that stuff. And then of course the driver's license comments, all those things are not lost on fans. They remember it. They see it all the time. And, yeah, do I think Atlanta could use a little bit more of the dark arts? Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely don't want the team to become known for flopping around like dead fish or almost dead fish all the time. But my biggest thing with Jim Curtin, and I do think out of all the MLS coaches that are available right now, Jim Curtin's the best one. And I give him credit because he has had success. He just hasn't quite been able to get over the line. I just don't know how he does with being able to change tactically because he's so set in stone with what he had at Philly mostly because of the fact that he couldn't get anybody else. Can he take what Atlanta has and what they're going to try to get into the offseason and adapt it? Like, does he go with that diamond formation that he's ran for years? Because the team right now is not set up for it. Could they be by the time February rolls around? Possibly, but I just don't know that he's got the flexibility. I'm not saying he doesn't. I just haven't seen it. So that's my only kind of like cause for concern with Jim. We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, but you have to go into the press conferences in the beginning and, put on a hard hat because it would be interesting.
You know how many games you've blown in the last couple minutes?
Yeah.
Dark arts it up. Once it hits the 88th minute, if we all fall down and act like lightning hit the field to kill some time, I'm fine. Whatever. Like that's it. But I don't think you're getting the same thing that you'd be getting in Philadelphia. And good managers, you know what? You get results with what you have. And he's been able to get results with what he has had, right? And now he can, if they think that he's the right guy, I think with a roster that he's been asking for a long time, he's going to be able to open things up and have more fun and be able to give you that attractive soccer here. So I just hope that if he is the guy that, like, people give him a chance, right? Like, obviously, if he tries to avoid the question about it, then, yeah, I'm not going to be happy with it. But he's gonna make some smart comment about it because he knows, right? Like, he knows that he's going to have to, eat a shit sandwich, and that's what happens. That's why you don't burn bridges, man. Because now all of a sudden you said no to Atlanta United, and then you're on the unemployment line, and they're calling back, and you're like, oh man, now I gotta apologize to these guys. And they better have a really sweet.
Life is funny like that, huh?
Yeah. So listen, the Gulch Instagram page, all of that. Your tifo, the first tifo of the season, if it's Jim Curtin, you better have a big driver's license with Jim Curtin's face on it.
Uh-huh.
That is what you need to do. The season opener, please. Record this, Sydney, if you're listening. Make it a little video, whatever. We're going to send it over to all of them because I think they missed out on it. Did they end up doing that as a tifo ever?
No.
Okay, because I think they actually said that they regretted doing that.
The club did when they beat Philly, they did a cool little post, and it was like the driver's license with Jim Curtin, and it said like no MLS Cups or whatever.
Yeah.
So now
you need to do it.
I want the tifo for sure.
Yeah. We'll talk to you. We'll reach out to them and make sure that they're smart enough that they'll get it, but we'll just make sure. I got to go. My kid wants to play Call of Duty down here or Fortnite. So Henry, meet him up on Fortnite in 10 minutes, he said.
Sure.
All right, guys, I'm not going to hit end stream. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We're thankful for all of you. Thanks for hanging out with us, not only Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're taking tomorrow off, and Thursday and the rest of the weekend. So enjoy everything. Enjoy your Black Friday shopping. What is it? Local Saturday or whatever it is. And then buy some merch on Local Saturday. We'd appreciate it.
Yes.
Look at it. Henry's The Walking Billboard. Check that out. We appreciate you all, and you guys all have a good night.
Absolutely.
Good day.
Have fun, buddy. Have fun playing Fortnite.
Bye, Tom.
I'm going to play Call of Duty. Bye.
All right, you go do that.
Have fun.
I'm not hitting end stream.
Don't hit end stream.
Hits end stream.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we're blacked out. One last thing, Henry. Last thing. The one other thing I wanted to mention that Garth said, he's looking for a defender.
Hey, that's funny. Do you remember a rumor popping up about a defender?
I do. You think you
that's
put an article
weird
out about it, didn't you?
Anyway.
Now, the caveat is, he said the coach is going to be a big factor in that because if the coach wants to play consistently a back three, and this is what Garth said, you naturally are going to have to find another center back. Who knows what that means for Luis Abram? We've already talked about Noah Cobb and potentially moving him to right back if they can make that work.
Tyler, can I actually add on to that? You mentioned Luis Abram, and we talked about earlier how Garth mentioned the players having the compensation reflect their role on the team. Well, Abram, if I pull up my handy dandy contract list sheet thing that I made. He is making close to 900,000.
Yep.
And so clearly his contract has been a subject of discussion a lot for us, because he's kind of a backup. He plays in the back three when it needs that, but he's a backup if you're going to a back four, and you're paying a lot for a backup. So potentially, if you're looking to move him out and bring, whether it's Paulo Diaz or it's someone else on a little bit of a smaller spend, that would make sense. Because otherwise, really depth-wise, you're solid at center back right now.
Yeah.
Now he did say defender. He didn't necessarily say center back, and fullbacks are also defenders. And you do need a lot of reinforcement at fullback as it is right now. You have one left back, and then you have Brooks Lennon and Matt Edwards. Ronald Hernandez is still in negotiations, but if that doesn't get done, then that's where you're at. So you definitely would need some fullbacks, and I imagine that might actually be what he's talking about, but we'll see.
I think that and another number 6, because you've lost Dax, and you want to replace Dax with another Dax, right, or another Jeff Larentowicz. Like you want that veteran guy he's going to be there, and yeah, maybe he's not starting every game, he's not getting all the minutes, but he's there to help. In this case, like what he did for Jay in this season was massive. Somebody that can control the game when things get a little funny. So yeah, I think another number 6, another wing back. Matt Edwards can play both sides. He can play both wing back positions, but he's also young, coming out of college, last year. He's got a lot of development, and he hasn't had the kind of thrown into the fire moments like Jay Fortune has had. He'll get them. He absolutely will get them, but you can't just rely on him to be the backup right now. He needs time. So,
can we clone Pedro Amador?
Yeah, dude, for
and
real.
Just have him on both sides.
Yeah, just swap the feet and put another one over there on the other side. Like,
yeah, mirror them, man.
Dropping dimes.
It'd be insane.
Omar wants to keep Ibarra and keep him as a number 6. I don't think Ibarra wants that though. That's the thing.
I think the bridge is burnt at this point.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Any other thoughts with everything that happened today?
Yeah. Couple of final things for me. Given the complete overhaul of the club at a fundamental level, this puts all of the pressure on Garth for 2025 to be the year that Atlanta United is back, baby. Like, you need 2025 to be that year where you are, top 3 in the East, or you are the competitive force that this club is meant to be, that it was founded to be this competitive force from the very beginning, and that it hasn't been for the better part of what we're at 5 years almost of this team not really being relevant.
5 years exactly.
Yeah. So you need to be back in 2025, especially when you've got a new technical director, a new coach, DPs and everything. The roster like overhauled on a base level, and completely like this is all Garth at this point. There is no excuse. Like, this is his time, and if things don't meet expectations in 2025, that's gonna be on him. Like, you got to start looking at him, I feel. So yeah, for me, that's the main thing. One final thing before we wrap up. There are some more dates to look forward to in the off season. I mentioned this in our 3 takeaways video, and I also tweeted it. But the MLS expansion draft, to see which players will go from other MLS teams to join San Diego, which is joining the league, the Western Conference, next season. That will be December 11th. There will be an eligibility list that comes out at some point in the near future. I'm not sure when, but we'll keep you posted. There's definitely going to be Atlanta United players on that list, so stay tuned. Free agency opens December 12th at 1 p.m. At that point, Atlanta United can start signing free agents once again. Free agents from around the league, free agents from outside. I don't know how active they're going to be in the free agent market, but hey, that's where you got Pedro Amador. So
yeah, I mean, you've had success there. So
yeah, you could get some gems there. The re-entry draft is on December 13th. That's phase 1, and then phase 2 is on December 19th. Atlanta United famously got Derek Williams from that last year. And by the way, re-entry draft, we mentioned the 6 players whose options have been declined. Well, 5 of them, because Tyler Wolff is going to waivers, but the other 5 would be going into the re-entry draft, or eligible for that. And then finally, the MLS Super Draft will be on December 20th. That is where you get the college kids, the prospects. And Atlanta United, I think, finished 20th in the Supporters Shield. So they would actually get a pretty decent pick for that draft. And we're curious. I mean, got Jaden Hibbert from that last year. He's now your 3rd string goalkeeper. So let's see what they can get from this one. But yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to. And
Gray's
as always,
pick number 23.
Pick number 23.
Because of the playoffs and the way that all went down.
Oh, right. Thanks, Gray. So yeah, maybe not the most glamorous pick in the world, but you could still get some stuff there. So yeah, tons of stuff to look forward to.
Trust in Atlanta's scouting department with colleges, because they focus a lot on colleges. And I know that doesn't make like the big headlines and stories, but Atlanta's got some good talent in college, and they have gotten some good talent out of college. Like you said, Jaden Hibbert is a huge example of that. And I wish the fans had seen him more this year, besides with the 2s, but a great goalkeeper that's coming up. So that's not one of those to skip over. You know, you might not see the effects of it this year or even next year, but it's one of those that they bring in, and then you've got even more talent to start looking at to be excited about in the future.
Well, and Gray, correct me if I'm wrong, but they could also trade up in the draft. I don't think they'll do that, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I know they traded up for the re-entry draft. That's how they got Williams, but I don't know if they'll trade up for the super draft.
Well, and they did last year. You know, they made some trades last year, and that kind of led to some of the ultimate moves that they did have. So like, it's possible this year. I think it's kind of hard to guess, you know, where they go with it, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted with all that. I know Gray is really good with all the college stuff. Shout out to him. He'll keep you posted with super draft stuff for sure. Mm-hmm. And, you know, us in general, we'll keep you guys busy with some off-season content for you to check out with these, you know, key events with the coaching search and all this. Just keep follow us on socials and stuff. And yeah, thankful for this year of Scarves and Spikes. It's been pretty, you know, for us, it's been, at least for me, I think it's been a privilege to help cover this team and to be able to do this kind of thing with y'all. So I'm definitely thankful for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I the same way. Like, this has been a year of growth, right? A lot of growth, and it's been great. You know, it's had ups and downs, obviously. We know that. But those of y'all that listen to the show, listen to the podcast after the fact, go on the website. You know, we have a whole community on the website too. You can go on there and comment, and there's lots of comments going on there every day. And sometimes it feels like its own little group, but there's lots of great conversation that happens there. So if you're not on there, go over there. You know, this is the desktop version, but it's on the phone as well. And, you know, the content's there. All of it's there, and it's coming out it's going to be just about every single day. It seems like we have, even when it's not news, we're going to have, you know, player ratings and all kinds of other stuff, opinion, everything. But you can scroll on down and put in your email here, and all the articles will be sent straight to your inbox as soon as they're published. So, you'll get the notifications right when they happen, and it's going to be busy. Obviously, we know that 48 hours after the season ends, we've already got tons of stuff to talk about. So y'all y'all go join the Patreon as well. We have a lot of fun on the Discord. We got other stuff coming out. We're going to be recording some stuff shortly after Thanksgiving. Probably Cyber Monday after the MLS Monday show. So yeah, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. And then like Tommy said, and like Henry said, go support your local business and go get some Scarves and Spikes merch. It's right there on the website as well at the top. So, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll be back doing our normal show next week. We'll of course be doing MLS Monday all the way through MLS Cup. But we're not going anywhere. We have the whole off season to cover. And then before you know it, we're going to be right back in the season again. So stick with us, check the website, follow us, subscribe here on YouTube, all that good stuff. Our promotions, I'm doing all the advertisements now, but at the end of the day, just know that we are all extremely thankful for every single one of y'all. Whether you make it every week or not, whether you're a part of the Discord, whether you're a part of the website, wherever, social media, we truly, truly, truly appreciate it. And with that, we will see y'all after Thanksgiving. Unless something big drops in the meantime, then we'll see y'all sooner than that. Who knows? But thank y'all. We appreciate it.
See you guys.
We come up with something funny to talk about.
That's what I was trying to figure out, but it just never, man.
You know, one person we can always talk about. That is Tommy. Thomas Reginald Moose.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's the thing. We need to make another bet. All right, like all the potential bets fell off. Going back again. I forgot to put it in bet. All the bets fell off. He ended up not shaving his beard. I will point out that he forgot to mention that because he was supposed to. And then he said, well, I'm not going to shave it until they win MLS Cup. Well, that ship has sailed. So, just saying.
A Tommy shave stream. That sounded horrible. Nope.
That's the OnlyFans version of the show.
Bye, y'all.
Joe, we appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. And yeah, be safe if y'all are traveling. And go make fun of Tommy on social media.
Eat turkey or whatever y'all eat.
I can give you some very good recipes as a pilgrim. So.
Haha, hilarious.
All right, see y'all.
Bye, y'all.